Yes, sir. We are back with another episode. I took a little break. I did. I took a little break, and but now we're back. Today is a very special episode. Because we're not just talking about real estate. We're talking about readiness. We're talking about getting ourselves ready. Um, I've helped a lot of people go from renters to homeowners, but I've noticed too many folks are buying homes without the financial foundation. And let's be real. Ownership without preparation. That's a setup for disaster. A lot of stress, right? So that's why I had to bring on two people I truly respect, not because they're doing the work, but they are the work, right? I am joined today by my brother Amir and his wife Yvette, the power couple behind the Wealth Beacon Foundation Group and the creators of Shine Academy, a completely free financial literacy program, 12-week financial literacy program that's changing lives in the greater New Haven area. And they do everything from budgeting to credit repair to debt management, home ownership prep. And they are giving people real game on how to build wealth through real estate by design and not by default. Let's welcome Amir and Yvette. Thank you guys for doing the show. I was trying to get my Shannon Sharp intro on. I got to work on
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So
Yeah.
let's dive right into this. So what is Wealth Beacon? What's Wealth Beacon Group Foundation?
So we'll start actually with the name. A lot of people associate or think Wealth Beacon. So of course they already think of monetary gain, wealth. Wealth Beacon is actually stands for having a wealth of knowledge, being a knowledge resourceful person and being a beacon to others. Most of the time when we have those people in our lives, we often refer to them, we call on them, we ask for, advice, we ask for help. And they're always the beacons of light that's able to guide us in whatever area, whether it's finances or health, wellness, and things like that. So Wealth Beacon Group, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization in New Haven. We help families transition from homelessness to homeownership, and we provide holistic wraparound services like housing, wellness, support, financial education, what else? Childcare resources, and workforce development.
Yeah.
Wow. And so how long have you had this foundation? When did you guys start?
1 year.
Oh, so it's the first year.
Yeah.
It's the first year. Yeah,
Nice.
we've been
We've helped 6 families, 15 children get out of the shelter.
yes.
Wow,
We've
nice.
been to work since 2023. The foundation's been established since about 9 months ago.
Nice. Okay. So you got Wealth Beacon, but now you got Shine Academy. How did Shine Academy come about?
So Shine Academy came about because we saw, first off, there was a need. A lot of the actual families that we helped, they were homeless, mainly because of their financial situation, whether it was through evictions, whether it's through not having jobs, but mainly was because like most people just don't know what to do with their money when they actually get it.
Mhm.
So again, a holistic approach would be to go ahead and address, those holes. So when Shine Academy first, came across our minds was just based off of our previous tenants. We had been landlords for over 10 years. And when you're a landlord, you kind of see some tenants making some of the silliest decisions. I remember one tenant in particular had like they were behind on rent. And then on social media, I saw like that they had extravagant birthday party for like their 4-year-old, where they were like, and I reached out to them like, hey, what's up with, with the rent? And they were like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. like, well, I had to spend $800 on my son's birthday. And I'm like, he's 4. I don't spend $800 on anybody's birthday. Like, so like, why are you doing? That's a bad decision.
Right.
Like that's a bad decision with your money, and you're putting, like you're putting your child at risk. I could evict you. And but again, a lot of the times people don't necessarily have those skills when it comes down to finances or budgeting, or even just, like again, some even we'll get a little bit further into it, but even some of the mental health aspects surrounding your finances.
Wow. Is Shine is that an acronym?
Yes, smart habits inspiring next level excellence. And that's exactly what we're trying to do and teach everybody. Just, it's just smart habits.
Right.
You quick smart habits. And if you have these smart habits and you're doing what you're supposed to do with them, it's going to inspire you to reach your next level.
Nice.
And hopefully that next level will be excellent. So,
Now, we hear the word being thrown around a lot. Um, you hear financial literacy, you hear generational wealth, you hear these words being thrown around. But what exactly does financial literacy mean? And how would you define financial literacy?
I think the best way is just like how money works.
Mm.
And see, like for instance, this past week I was at the barbershop. Um and we're talking about finances as we do when I'm in the barbershop. And the kid, he's like maybe 19, 20 years old. He works in construction. And as we're talking, he just like stops. It's like, yo, how do I boost my credit? And it's like, oh, that's simple. Here's some game. Like first off, do you know your credit score? No, you don't know your credit score? Cool. Download the Experian app. I'll help you set up your account. And then boom, look, he pulled it up. He had a 670 credit score. I'm like, oh, you're doing pretty good.
Nice.
Like, if you don't know what your credit score is, you got a 670 credit score. Now the next thing you do is you apply for a credit card. Now, if you guys like, if you really want to go ahead and like boost your credit kind of like fast, if you have the cash, go get a secure credit card for like $1,000.
Mm.
All right. Take that $1,000, and then in 6 months they give you $1,000 back. But here's the thing, that money's not your money. That credit card is not your like that credit card, it's not your money. I need you to understand that when you swipe that credit card, you better have that cash sitting in your bank account. And like I talked to this young man for about a good like 20 minutes, giving him game on different levels of credit and how he can move his credit fast, and then eventually how he can leverage his credit to not have to even use his actual social security number no more, and how he can actually use an LLC and businesses and use his business credit. But again, like it was funny because after the kid left, one of the older gentlemen was like, "Yo, you just gave him so much different game on how to make his life different at such a young age." He's like, "When did you learn?" I was like, "I learned this when I was like 35, 36." And he was like, "So imagine if you would have had all of that game." I was like, "Yeah, that's again the premise of Shine Academy is that we want to go ahead and just give everybody the game." Like, and again, I probably talk too much, but
Oh, so good.
I just recently I saw a podcast where somebody was talking about Jesse Jackson, and somebody asked Jesse Jackson, "Why do you think that basketball players, why black people excel so much in sports and basketball and football?" And the host said he thought he was going to say something like, "Oh, well, because black people are so genetically gifted." And he was like, "Nah." He said the reason why we excel so much at basketball and football is because we know the rules and we know the game. So
Mm.
again, it comes down to financial literacy. It comes down to credit. A lot of us just don't know the game.
Right.
We don't know how. We don't. And the biggest thing that's been happening now is that financial literacy is out there. And there's several different formulas for you to be able to use to be able to gain a level of wealth for yourself.
Mm. We
Some of it, go ahead.
no.
And some of it's gate,
Yeah, you
some
got.
of it's gate by actual, prices. So, people will go ahead and they'll give you the game, but you got to pay $300 for you to get it.
Right. Right.
Like, so you don't want it. So like I said, this is why Shine Academy, especially the first cohort and the beginning, and the core of it, it has to be free. We have to give this basic game to get you in the game. We have to give this away for free.
So, all right. So, listen, I don't mind you talking, brother. I love the, I definitely love everything you're saying. I'm running down my questions, and I'm like, you're answering everything, which is dope. You know what I mean? So, and I was gonna ask what separates Shine Academy, from any other financial literacy. So you're saying Shine Academy is free, number one, and what do you do to make the education approachable and not so intimidating?
You want this?
That's
Oh,
I
it.
you
can
go.
answer.
Okay, all right. So I mean, so like one of the things that so our first cohort, we actually had a partnership with ACT Money School, and we caught a lot of feedback on like, all right, that actual presenter was great. The other presenter was amazing. One of the presenters for it was actually even 16 years old. She's a 16-year-old student.
Mhm.
And again, seeing stuff like that, I think for people is amazing. But the biggest feedback that people wanted was they wanted me and her to speak and talk. They were like, like I would do the intro and to everything and the outro, but uh, to make it to make it more dumbed down was really the core of the basics. So like we talk about credit because everybody wants to talk about credit. We talk about budgeting because people are interested in budgeting, but we talked about banking.
Mm,
That is one of the things that the core principles in budgeting and credit that most people just skip right over. Like your credit is great that you have credit, but if you don't have an actual bank and a good bank and a good banking system, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So, like as I was talking to them, go back to to barbershop. I was talking to that young man. I was talking to him, and I was like, "Yo, the first thing that first rule that I learned was have several bank accounts." And he's like, "So right now, today, I have 14 bank accounts." And people go, "Well, why do you need so many?" And I was like, "It's complete organization, and there's complete separation." Besides me working at as a realtor and us doing the work as with landlord and also as working at Yale University, I have all the money going to different accounts, and it helps to know exactly like, and this is the budgeting aspect. I know that we have $3,000 of bills coming out every month, right? That's just $3,000. And I know that we have, just pulling a number out, we have $10,000 of income coming in. I can now separate that in my bank accounts without me having to think about it. A lot of the times when people like don't have proper banking skills, they will go ahead and they will continuously overdraft and overdraft and overdraft and overdraft because they're not spending properly. They're not calculating their bills first. They're not calculating how much money they spend weekly on like getting coffee.
mm,
When you sit down and you calculate all of that stuff and you have your bank to go ahead and kind of just organize that for you, it makes it such a smoother transaction to where you just like you're like it's just on autopilot. And I told you before, the big thing with me is I'm smart, but I'm lazy. I don't want to have to think about things that I don't want to have to think about. Like I'd rather focus my attention on what I enjoy doing. And so if I could set something up one time so that it works for me, that's like that's what it is. And that's what I want to go ahead and I want to, like make that relatable because when I'm talking to people, I'm talking about things that I do, things that, that we do together. It's nothing that, like that nobody can do. And besides, like 10, 15 years ago, before I purchased my first home, I was on food stamps.
mm,
Like I was the overdraft king, like overdrafting consistently. It wasn't until I had a financial literacy class for free that actually opened up my eyes about how to be able to buy a home or how to budget. And so, like, and now I'm just paying it back for it. We're paying it back for it.
nice.
Yeah, the type of banks that you choose too is important, and we talk a little bit about that too in class because banks, community banks could be different from commercial banks, and their lending systems and different things that they offer to customers as well. So
In
it's
in what
always
ways, if you don't mind, what ways?
so community banks sometimes they have okay, so for an example, if you go to certain banks and they offer incentives sometimes to open accounts. So that's the first thing that you want to look at. You want to look at incentives. Sometimes they'll say if you open a checking account, got to look at the fine print. But with direct deposit and it's 90 days, then we'll give you $300, $500, right? And then sometimes you want to look at is the bank a commercial bank? Is it more of a community bank? And look at the things that they offer. So sometimes in a lot of community banks, they have foundations, they have a lot of incentives, they have a lot of programs that will help you moving forward for business. They'll help you moving forward with loans or even grants to give you things for home buying or to start a small business and things like that. So it depends on again the type of accounts that you're looking for to open. You really want to look at that. You want to look at for savings, you want to look at the percentages and the things that they offer, what's their percentages, different CD accounts and different things that they have to offer too. So
Mhm.
there's a big difference a lot of times with community banks and commercial banks.
I just put myself on mute and I just told my wife, "Babe, we got to take the class." so, before we go further, let me just ask though, how do you guys? So, what are your roles in the Shine Academy? Do you teach a specific subject, Yvette, and Amir teaches another, or how does that work?
So that's gonna so like for the second cohort, like I said, we had partnership before. So the second cohort, like people were just told, like, I want you the guys to actually teach. And
Mm,
so we're like, all right, this is what's taking a little bit long right now is that we're actually going to be teaching our own curriculum. And this is going to be a little bit more guided towards that. And so we're probably going to do what we're doing right now,
mhm.
teaching together. Like and yeah.
That's dope. That's
And
dope. It's scary in a good way, like because I'm
yeah,
just listening to y'all talk. The knowledge I have is
yeah.
diabolical. It's dangerous.
People know me. I'm like the crazy, like I'm being laid back now, but I'm the crazy one. And so most of the time it has to just bring me back down. So like that's gonna be the dynamic, like, and you can do this, you can do this, but you need to do this first, like so yeah, so we're excited about that. That's going to be something that's coming soon. And also I'll give you a quick taste of what it's going to look like. Um, I think too, and this is something going back to what makes us separate and it makes us different. For most financial literacy classes, I call it inspiration. And literally it is it's prosperity teaching.
Mm,
And how frustrated are how like black folks got with how many preachers were out there prosperity teaching. And so when you're prosperity teaching, what happens? You person gets inspired
mm,
and they're so happy because they learn some new information and then they do nothing with it. And so I said, we can't be just another financial literacy course. So I said, like me, when I want to learn how to do something, what do? I go to YouTube University, I type it in, and I say, I want to learn how to tie a bow tie. The gentleman comes onto the screen. He comes on the screen and says, hey, he might give a history of bow ties and say, hey, the bow tie started in this, that, and the third, and da 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 da, and
mm,
it's great. Amazing. All right. Step one, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna take the tie, you're gonna do this. Step two, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, you're gonna do this. Step three, you're all done. You just tied your first bow tie. And so right now, what we're doing, because we're still going to be partnering with more individuals that are experts in insurance and taxes and so on and so forth. But what we really want to do is make sure that when you come to the class, you're going to learn why you need to do the things. And then we're going to tell you to take out your phone and then practice it while you're on the phone with us or while you're on the training with us. And whether that's even like, hey, how to set up a Robinhood account so that you can make your first investment and take $5 and invest into a stock in the class.
mm,
And we're going to be walking people through that process. just to make it so that it's not just inspiration. It's like I want to inspire you, but I want to inspire you to empower you to get the actual to get your financial freedom, to get your financial literacy. It's cool to know, but knowing is half the battle. GI Joe, you gotta,
Not the
have
GI
to
Joe.
actually do
Yeah, this is dope. So let's go back to budgeting. How can someone who lives paycheck to paycheck build like a realistic budget? And like, what are some of the methods that you teach in Shine Academy? Like, there's a lot of different budgeting methods and the 50-30-20. There's a bunch of them out there. Is there anything specific that you guys teach?
I love the 50, 30, 20 model. That's what I like that we do together as the 50, 30, 20 model. But like you said, there's other things.
Yeah. So for the breakdown, the 50-30-20 is 50% for your needs, 30% for your wants, and 20% for savings. And it's simple, it's flexible, and we make it easy to stick with pretty much. We also touch on zero-based budgeting and the envelope methods depending on, certain styles. So again, there's different saving methods, spending methods, budgeting methods overall, but it's important to, I guess it really depends on the individual.
It does.
Yeah, it depends on the individual and where you are, what your goals are, what you're trying to attain. But the money situation, we all have it, but it's about
Me and my wife go back and forth on, I'm what you call a power spender. I make the money and then I do what I got to do with it. I don't really have a system. I'm just, I just have a system on making money. You know what I mean? But so we talk about it all the time, the different methods and this, that, and the envelope method. How do you, how do you, how do you know, like you said, it's different for everybody, but how do you know which one to go with? It
I mean,
can get overwhelming with all of the methods out
budgeting.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so it's based off of the person and an individual. So for instance, in the beginning, when I didn't, like when I was living paycheck to paycheck, when I was living, like I said, 15 years ago with that financial literacy class, uh, the instructor said, do yourself a favor and just take $5 out of your, like just take $5 out and put it to the side. One of the biggest pieces of advice that he actually gave me was go to a bank that you don't have access to. And I was like, what? Hey, what do you mean? Go to a bank I don't have access to? Like, go to a bank that you like literally, he's like, do yourself a favor, take a day off from work and drive to a bank that a community bank, preferably, or a credit union, and see if you can get in. So I did. So I went to Connecticut State Credit Union, which is in like Woodbridge. And he said, don't ask for checks, don't ask for a debit card. And I was like, all right. And then what do I do? And he was like, then you set up with your job to have it, direct deposited. And he said, just direct deposit $5. I was like, all right, bet. So, my bold behind was like, I'm $25.
Right.
25. And like after that first month went off and I got a chance to look at the account, and I had $100 in there. I was like, oh, it worked. And then I overdrafted and my other account. And I'm like, oh man, let me go pull that. I gotta legit take a day off to go over there to get this actual $100.
Hmm.
Literally, it was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, I need this $100. I need this $100. And then eventually it was like, all right, well, I guess I just ain't gonna get it. I'm gonna have to tighten up with my overdrafting. And then over time, like after that whole entire year had came down, I had like $500 in the account. It was amazing. I'm like, yo, like I got $500 here. Like, yo, this is crazy. Like, and again, for myself, it was like it was an amazing experience. And it was like, oh, I get it now. I get it, like taking that little bit of just a little bit of money. It doesn't even have to be like literally, it's coffee money to a lot of us. It's your Netflix account that you only watch every 3 months. Like it's that money that we completely blow on stupid things that we don't need, that we like that would be that extra little bit to just
Mhm.
save.
It's
And
it's
like I said,
it's funny you say
it's
that. We did. Me and my wife had to look at our finances not too long ago. We had 2 Netflix accounts, 2 Amazon Prime accounts. We had two, and like all this time, and we didn't even realize it.
Yep,
yeah.
we did the same thing. Yeah. I mean, it's I guess we don't see it that way, but it's like small things,
Mm.
right? So it's like a Netflix account could be like $15. Then you find out you have stars for like
Right.
$14, another one for $5, but then you sign up for the other thing that gives you the 3-in-1. And you know what I mean? So it's like it is important to like look at all that stuff because you'll find, oh, I could even stop these subscriptions, or I don't really watch this stuff anymore. This doesn't serve me. I could actually take that and save it, and put it into account. But I did something similar that Amir was saying. I opened the Navy Federal account, and I don't have, obviously we don't have it here, so I no ends on it at all, no cars, no nothing, and it's just like it just goes there, and it makes it easier. But I just think you have to know yourself. You have to know, kind of, you have to know again your mindset around finances and different things. One of my kids, a teenager, first job, and he had mom to checking in the savings, and then I'm like, so how we doing? And he's like, oh man, I'm down. And I'm like, yeah, because you're cheating on yourself. Like you go to the account and you just transfer the money back, and it's just like it's not serving you. So we gave him the same advice. It's like you're gonna have to do something else, or you're gonna have to go all the way out somewhere, no card attached or anything like that, so you can have the savings account so you can really help yourself. So we really just meet people where they are, give people different methods, and
Meeting people
do what
where
you
they
can,
are.
do what you can with where you are.
Yeah. That's so for someone who wants to buy in the next 12 months, what should that person budget for like right now?
All right. So I'm gonna give you some game. I don't know if you've ever like, like you ever you do so I usually walk people through this whole entire process.
Mhm.
So somebody comes to me like, yo, I want to buy a house. I'm like, great, amazing. What's your bank account look like? I got like $500 saved. All right. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a deep breath. We're gonna take a deep breath. We're gonna figure out a few things, like so the first thing that I tell people to do again is this is when you're going to be the most tight, and this is coming from my experience. So and what I actually did is I like almost triple and quadruple my savings. So I was saving at the time, like I said, it was $25 at the time, and like I said, I was doing good. But once I realized I wanted to get a house, I bumped it up to $125. And it was a sacrifice, but it also meant that I had to sacrifice eating out as much. Like it meant that I wasn't going to be able to buy my pair of Clark Wallabies, and that, like I said, that was important to me at the time, and I had to like cut out on buying like plugins. So again, all of like, taking those sacrifices, looking back at that and going and doing that. And so once I was able to do that, I built up kind of a momentum. The next thing in that step is that most of us don't actually understand taxes. And what I mean by that is that when you are doing your taxes every year, you're supposed to net zero. That's what it's supposed to look like. That means that most of us are actually using the tax system as an actual savings account. And so if you're using it as a savings account and you're getting money back in your taxes, it's non-negotiable. That money goes directly into your savings account and will not be touched. And that is one of the biggest things that has helped a lot of people out, because you sit there and like I said, you can possibly save, like with the $125. I think it's like it nets almost like 6 grand. But so now you go ahead and as a single mother, or or even a married couple, you guys can possibly clock in almost 4,000, like anywhere between 3,000 to like $9,000, depending on children and different scenarios. So if you do that, you've now moved into good down payment mode. Second thing, of course, you're gonna leverage things like the different grant programs that are out there. But the most important thing that I think, and this is why I like, me and Yvette, we love the Lord, and we go to church every Sunday. And I know most black folks do. We go to church every Sunday. If we're not going to the church, we're going to the mosque, we're going to the synagogue, we're going somewhere like this. And the cheat code that have helped out so many of my clients, especially when I find out that they go to a church or they belong to some type of nonprofit organization, is that nonprofit organizations can actually give you money besides family. And so for our people, a lot of the times it's a thing of like nobody in the family has any money. Nobody's coming to give you, $5,000 to help with your deposit. Um, and or so we usually, like I said, and tell me if I'm wrong, when it comes down to our people, they usually have enough money to eat for the down payment, for the inspection, and for the appraisal, but don't have enough money for the reserves. And we usually have to use their 401k and or the rest of the closing
Closing
costs.
costs, right?
Closing costs are the things that really be so like when and I've been on the phone with plenty of pastors here in New Haven, and they know me by name because I will call them up and say, "Hey, how you doing? Sister so and so is buying a house, and we need you to help her out." Well, the church don't got no money. That's amazing. I can appreciate the fact that the church doesn't have any money. Will the church be willing to go ahead and borrow, help her borrow this money? She has to give it back. She'll have to give it back right after this thing is over. Right after she closes. But if you can just possibly help her with a love offering of $5,000, and then she has to give it back. We'll write a contract up. I don't know how many deals that I've gotten closed with that.
Really?
Um, Yep. How many deals where pastors or imams have been like, all right, cool, here, what, we'll give them $5,000 to get ahead, and it's coming back. Yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back. Um, and so this is like I said, that right there is a cheat code for like real estate agents. Like I tell people all the time, I am not a gatekeeper. Like I will let you know exactly how I got my deal closed.
Nice.
Like that's how I get my deal closed. Like so, especially like I said, so going to church or being a part of, like I said, being a part of the Masons, being a part of different things. These are nonprofit organizations. They can give you money. And the banks go, oh, well, they're a nonprofit organization, especially if you don't have, like I said, if you don't have that's one of the big things that ain't nobody in my family got no money, or ain't nobody in my family going to give me no money. It's like, all right, cool. Well, you pastor, you tithe, right? Like you've been tithing, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. All right. This is where your tithing comes in handy. Like, and
Nice.
churches need to do this. So,
That's dope. Way to think out of the box on that one. That's dope. And as a real estate agent, yeah, Yvette, are you a real estate agent as well?
I'm not,
Okay.
no.
she I like how like
Not
she needs she
interested.
needs to get her MLO. I was like, at least get your
Right.
MLO so that we
So
Talk
can.
we
about it.
talked about MLO, and we'll work, together along that. But no,
I
I'm not an agent.
I,
I'm an agent. I'm an agent through Amir and state assistant and everything else.
we're gonna talk about this. I told you I got another podcast, Secure the Bag podcast, and we really talk about family, money. We talk about real estate. We kind of talk about everything, but um, we really like to talk about the family dynamic and uh, just try to empower people on, especially being an entrepreneur, right? There's some, one of the topics we were talking about is being an entrepreneur. Not everybody understands what you go through on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes even our spouses, like, we can't really have a full conversation because they really fully don't understand. So
Yeah.
you know how do you guys mesh with that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how does that work for you? You guys obviously seem like y'all work together. See, me and my wife would probably be arguing and nobody would never get a house.
Dude, I don't know. I mean,
We
this is
said it yesterday. So, like, so for instance, if most people don't know our actual story, but so I put a post on Facebook saying like, like, hey, if you're looking to buy a house, hit me up in the inbox. And so she hopped in my inbox. She waved twice, so I said she must really
The
want
second time was an accident. I'm like, don't get
The second time was an accident.
don't get excited.
So we went, so like, so for most of my, so pretty much all of my consultations, I don't like going to the office. I like, I'm a foodie. I like eating. So I take people out to eat. And that's my first thing. And that's also a great write-off for you too. So like I said, you go eat and go get a write-off. And so I go ahead and so like we went out to this place called Beer Collective, and we talked about buying a house for like 5 minutes, and then it became like a situation where it was all we talked about was like each other. And then, like I said, it became lovey-dovey. And all of a sudden I was like, oh wow, like this is not an actual business. So this is like a date. And I remember I texted her and I apologized. I said, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. That's not what I like. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's do this again. We did it again at another place that I like, saloons, and then it was less time talking about houses. It was like, all right, well, then I was like, obviously we have some type of chemistry. Let's just go on a date. Fast forward now, we go out to eat and we're trying to do some like, just try to do the lovey-dovey, and it's like business. Wealth Beacon got to do this and we got to do this. We got to build this website. You got to do this. And this person needs to be contacted. It's like, yo, like, I was like, what happened? How did it reverse? Like, all we talk about is real estate and business now.
Yeah,
So
definitely. But for the balance portion, like you were saying, in just our relationship, a lot of stuff obviously overblends. From the very beginning, he was an agent, and I saw that he needed help and organization with that. So naturally, being a partner and a helpmeet, I was able to help him organize a lot of his thoughts, his files, his, all of that stuff to kind of streamline things and get it together. And I'm naturally resourceful. So I know about or, hear about a lot of different things. I network a lot. So it's like, oh, there's this program that's coming out and these loans are available and these grants are available, tell your clients about this. So it kind of naturally happened that way. But what also keeps us balanced is normal, regular date nights. We like are serious about date nights,
serious,
a trip once a year,
serious.
and therapy. We do marital therapy, not that anything's wrong, but it's to keep things not wrong.
Nice.
So we continually
Yeah.
our
I
marriage
use
therapy is
like
like key.
I use an analogy because as a homeowner yourself and as other people that are homeowners and landlords, I tell people I was like I treat my marriage like I treat my furnaces. And they go, "Oh, what does that mean?" I was like, my furnaces, they require maintenance. Like they require the filter needs to be changed every 3 to 6 months. I call my HVAC guy to come take a look at my actual furnace and check the electric and all that stuff. And people go like, well, how, you do that every year. I'm like, absolutely. And I was like, and it's the same thing with my with my marriage. I have to make sure that I change my filters every 3 to 6 months. We need to go ahead and we need to make sure that like we ain't blowing a bunch of dust and and pollen in the house. Um, and so, and I always ask this question to homeowners and landlords: when do furnaces break?
You don't know.
Like most of the time, they break in the winter time,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
usually on the coldest day in the winter. And I was like, every relationship has a situation where there's going to be a winter, whether that winter is death in the family, financial might loses a job, financial, some financial things happen.
Right.
And so again, if you are doing the proper work on your furnace, you've already seen and you've already prepared for your furnace to break. You're doing everything that you possibly can to actually extend that actual furnace's life. And if you're not, like I said, if you go ahead and you're just gonna let it go through the whims, then of course, like I said, when that winter comes, boom, now you out here struggling trying to find an HVAC guy to come replace your furnace, and by then somebody done froze to death, and then the pipe burst, and then like, and now we in a whole different situation based off of one simple thing,
I,
basic maintenance,
I
and that's
I
what
was
they're.
gonna tell you not to ever use that analogy again, but I'm glad you brought it home. It made sense. I'm glad you brought it home. So, listen, we're gonna get you on the Secure the Bag podcast. We're definitely gonna talk more about that aspect. You guys are amazing. I
Thanks.
appreciate you doing this. Doing this for me and my audience. I When is the next class? When do you know when roundabout date? Something, little teaser, something.
We're so like so at this particular point we are going we're talking about actually like recording and doing all this stuff right now. So that's the main reason why that like we haven't actually issued a date. We might do another cohort like we did last time with Axie T.
Mhm.
So that's something that's on the books. And so if it does like if we do that, we're talking possibly I think maybe around July.
Yeah, like July, August.
July, August. We're going to be doing a master class for with Black Wall Street. Shout out to Snacks and YA
Mhm.
and the Breed. So we hope to be able to launch either ours or our solo or ours with Axie T's Money School. So it'll probably be like I said, July and August again. So that'll be a good thing.
Okay. All right. Just let me know. Let me know.
Definitely.
I
Well,
actually I had a bunch of people that went through there that was texting me about it and was telling me how good it was. I wanted to go. I had signed up for another class and something else, so it was real tough for me to get in on the days. But I still want to go myself. I've heard nothing but good things about it. So yeah,
Yeah.
you guys definitely keep doing your thing, and yeah, I can't wait to the next session for sure.
The next session too, we always, I'll give you just a sneak preview, but I for the last 6 months we've been working on an app. And the app is called Beam. And Beam is literally your financial assistant.
advisor.
He's your advisor, he's your budgeter. He does everything for you. So you literally will log into Beam, and Beam will have your bank account information, your credit score information, and will create a budget for you.
Nice.
And it creates a budget for you, and it's absolutely beautiful. It talks to you in four different ways and of your choosing. So it can talk to you straight numbers.
Mm,
It can talk to you as like a financial advisor, giving you advice on where you need to go. It can be inspirational, acting more like like a father or mom figure, like, hey, you can do this. Or it could talk to you like a bro and be like, bro, what are you doing? That's the dumbest decision that you could possibly do with your money. So it just depends on how you want to do it. But the other cool factor is that it actually has the location services. So when you actually go to Stop and Shop, it pops up to you and says, hey, you have $350 for your Stop and Shop budget. Don't go over.
wow.
If you save the money, you actually can, if you save some money, you can put that money towards some of your savings. It's also able to hook into your Robinhood account and your stash accounts.
Mm,
And
So
the credit bureaus.
and your credit bureaus. So you'll have complete access, and it like I said, it completely is your companion. It gives you an alert in the morning time, tells you where you stand, tells you how much money you have saved, tells you exactly like if you're trying to save money for a house, it gives you the entire budget to be able to save money for your down payment. And so it gives you the actual goals. It can be fluctuated from like I want to be able to save, like $12,000 in the next 6 months. It'll tell you exactly how you can do that, or if it's even possible. So, like I said, these are things that, again, I'm lazy and I just want to be able to not have to think about this stuff. And I feel
nice.
like people are like me too. We lazy. We just don't want to think about it. We just wanted to do it for us. And so,
Innovative.
Inno-
well, I'm innovative.
Innovate.
I'm innovative. Lazy.
And
But again, so like that's something that we're hoping that we can actually launch with the new Shine Academy.
mm,
And so like and like that, like there will be a portion that possibly will be paid, but there will like for Shine Academy, it will be a free version that people will have access to.
nice. And this in the app that you're working on is that will be free too, or is that gonna come with a cost?
That's gonna be free too.
Bro, bro, y'all are amazing. Y'all are amazing. That's a $1 billion idea right there.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be lazy. I'm really trying to put my toes in this thing. like early. Like I'm trying to retire. I'm just trying to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So this is crazy. It's exciting, man. I'm proud of y'all. Me and Amir went to school together, so I was able to see your growth. You know what I mean, through the whole thing, man. And I'm super proud of you, man.
Kicked out of Hampton
Yeah,
High.
right.
They took. They said, "Don't come back."
Yeah, and I had the same conversation. So look at us. Look at God.
Look at us. Look at us now.
So thank you guys. Yvette, you're amazing. I
Thank
can't wait to catch up with y'all again. Anytime y'all want to
Yeah,
come on, let me know.
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
We
thank you.
appreciate
the
it.
pleasure's all
Yep.
mine. So
All right.
if you are interested in financial literacy, what's the website?
So it's wealthbeacon.org. So, wealthbeacon.org, as you see it on our chest. So wealthbeacon.org. You go there, check the whole entire website out. We do a lot of wonderful things. We have a few campaigns as well. We have the campaign. We have the Housing with Purpose campaign helps us to be able to purchase more homes, and kind of the back office stuff for so we can help a lot of these families.
Mm,
Like we didn't really touch on it, but currently there's over 60 families in New Haven shelters
mm,
that have Section 8 vouchers but no housing.
mm,
Um, and so that's a huge thing, and we're trying to combat that. And homelessness definitely looks different than what it looked like when we were kids. When somebody was homeless before they was out on the streets holding up a sign, that was like, oh, like, oh, he's homeless. But we're seeing people that are the working homeless. People work at Yale University. People work at Yale Hospital, and they're homeless. They are living not paycheck to paycheck, but living hotel to car,
mm,
hotel to car. Like, and there's plenty of families that are sitting in shelters right now, moms, kids. Again, it's just something is crazy because it's happening all around us. And as a landlord, I understand both sides of it. I understand why some of these tenants are in a situation that they're in. But the human side of me is just like, this is not acceptable, and we have to do something about it.
nah, definitely not. And even some quick real estate talk. If you look on the MLS, there's a lot of apartments has been sitting on the market for a long time, vacant. Like,
Bacon.
what do you think the connection is? What do you think? What's missing here?
Well, I mean, we she actually went ahead and she talked at the homeless ATI conference, and she talked about the tier system that most landlords look at tenants at. Most people don't know that. Most landlords look at tenants in a tier system. When I have a tenant apply for application and they're a Yale student, or a Southern student, or UNH or Alberta student, they come with a stipend. And I've had students like this come in, and they literally say, "Here's the rent for the whole entire year." Like, and I'm not going to be here half the time because I'm going to be in class. I'm going to be partying, at my friends' houses and a third. So it becomes a thing of like, oh, it's a less of a headache,
Mm,
or it's the person that has the 750 credit score. And as a landlord, when I go ahead and I do my applications, I need to see your bank account statement, and they got more money in their bank account than me.
mm,
I'm like, oh, this is
mm.
going to be easy.
Right.
And so again, it's a thing where it's like it makes it a lot easier for those tenants to get in, and those are the tenants that everybody's trying to grab. And then there's the B level tenants. There's the ones that are just the working class who work, but again, you possibly are paycheck to paycheck. Like you need to come to Shine Academy to learn how to do better budgeting of money. And
But they're
so,
consistent.
but they're consistent. But if something happens, like you have a tire blown, it's a possibility you might be late for rent.
Mm,
You know, like like things like that make you like a B level. And the C level, or the lower of the lower of the lower, are the people that have felons, the people that have evictions, the people that don't have jobs, the people that it's cool that you like. People used to be like, oh, so Section 8 is guaranteed money, but Section 8 at this particular point isn't the highest price rent on the market. So again, and Section 8 has having a problem right now trying to even keep up, for a decent, pretty, like a decent 3-bedroom apartment can easily go for 25, $2,600 here in New Haven.
mm. Right.
And it is at 23. So who am I going to wait for? Am I going to wait for the B person, or possibly an A person?
And that still depends. So I tell people that Section 8, for their kind of their acceptance, is still on a scale. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. So like if a person had a 3-bedroom voucher, it still depends on their family composition. So if that person is unemployed
Mhm.
with a 3-bedroom voucher, they'll probably start at a certain level. They're not going to max them out for a person who may have a 3-bedroom voucher who is a working individual. They get to pay more of the expense. So their rent increase, can be capped at a different rate than the other person who's unemployed. So I think that's a little bit of that too. But the tier system is definitely a real thing, when we're looking for, or landlords in general are looking for renters, but particularly, because of administration and just things overall, really since COVID, a lot has happened, transition and fundings and jobs, employment, we see here, a lot of development is happening. So it's actually putting a lot of people out because of that as well.
Mhm.
So sometimes, the evictions necessarily aren't the fault of the tenant. Sometimes it's a matter of, their property was purchased, they've been asked to move, and then, they could have been there for several amount of years. They kind of been like at a lower rent, let's say 1,800. Now they go out in the market today, the rents are 2,300, 25. They're like, I can't afford this. And then we see that they're becoming homeless just because of that. So the homeless situation is very it's a more vast situation than what we're used to seeing. And it's kind of like Amir said, people being outside holding signs is one part of it. But then when you see working homeless people, you see people in programs really trying, sometimes there are things that are their own faults as to their evictions, and sometimes it's not.
Mhm.
So it really depends, on the situation. But unfortunately, that margin is becoming larger and larger as we go. I think the connection piece is really that we need to have conversations and talk to more landlords. So we're advocating on both sides. We're trying to, Wealth Beacon Group is a housing provider, but we're also a resource hub.
Yeah.
So we want to be kind of the liaison too between our city municipalities as well as landlords to have conversations to say, you guys have apartments. What do you need to feel secure? And what could we do to help support? Or what
Mhm.
kind of programs can we help implement or to give you if you decided to take these type of tenants? So those are conversations that we're having. We're having a meeting soon with the city of New Haven, but we're having with a lot of different businesses and organizations to bring awareness to that so we can kind of bridge that gap because again, the housing market is high and a lot of people do need apartments, but then that is outsourcing a lot of other people from having housing. So the homeless margin is like growing because of that as well. So
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
with that method, with what you guys are doing with having the conversations with the landlords, you feel like it's working? Is it, are you guys
I
successful
mean,
with
we
that, or is it like a work in progress?
some landlords are like, no,
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
like it'd be saying, I can understand it because they're like, yo, like I'm not a caseworker.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I understand that, and so like even with us and our experience, we have found ourselves being caseworkers.
Hmm.
Like, oh, you don't have that? Oh, okay. Well, we have to reach out to a resource to see if we can get you that. Or even sometimes, here's the thing is that, like Yvette and another more one of our board members, Terry, and another person, what's her name? I can't even think of her name right now. Terry, you and Terry
Tabby.
and Tabby. They're working on a tenant ready program. So making sure that tenants are ready to actually rent.
Yep.
Uh,
Education.
which is crazy because you don't think about it because again, you just assume that people know like, hey, I should lock the bottom door when I come in the house.
Mm.
Uh, I should, like I know how to use a gas stove. I know how to use a smart thermostat.
Mm.
And folks don't know this stuff. Like people will are like, like Terry was telling us about people arguing with her about paying the $30 that's owed after Section 8 pays their version.
Mm.
Why they need my $30? Like, because they need your $30. Like, so explaining some of these stuff to tenants to understand, like, yo, like, listen, because you just be so surprised that people just don't know.
Mm.
And we assume that everybody knows how we know. Like, and again, if we actually take some of that, take some of the brunt off of that for landlords, that's what we're trying to just figure out. Like, how can we actually help you guys to be able to feel a little bit more comfortable taking on, like we've taken on so far, like I said, 6 tenants. One of them didn't work out.
Mm,
and it was just a you know a bunch of different things that just happened. It was like, yo, I actually got to ask you to leave
mm,
because I can't have this in my house, and it was based off of I I don't know. It was just like you don't know not to do that,
mm.
like like, and how many times do I have to tell you not to do that? So again, you
There's some things that, especially, I don't even, it really has nothing to do with real estate. It's really just life that you would think is common sense to a lot of people, and then come to find out is not. I've been having the conversations lately. I have three multifamily listings, two on the market, one getting ready to come on. And there's one thing that I notice is the landlord tenant relationship is just not there. And on
yeah,
both sides, the landlord doesn't
yeah,
know how to deal with the tenant doesn't know how to deal with the landlord. So now
And
you get into a situation where, okay, you want to sell your property, which rightfully so, you should be able to do that, but the tenants don't want to
yes,
let nobody in, or somebody's worried about being evicted or whatever. And it's just like you have to, like, people don't realize there's a certain level of customer service being a landlord. Like,
Mhm.
you can't just collect your rent and say this is mine, go kick rocks. There's got to be it's a business. If you go to Walmart or you go to Enterprise Rent a Car, right? They
yep,
like, they don't, there's rules, there's a process on how things are done, but they're not just going to
mhm,
treat you rudely just because you're renting a car from them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah,
I really think that that piece I see is a problem. One more, I give you one more. I had a client and we laugh about this all the time. Bro closed on his house, and after the closing, we went our separate ways. Well, he goes to the property, and there's like an American flag, a POW flag, some plants on the porch. He's like, "Yeah, I don't want none of this on my house." He just started taking it down. So the tenant comes out like, "Yo, what are you doing to my stuff?" And then the guy was like, "Yeah, I don't want this on my house." So that he calls me like, "Yo, the tenant got a nerve to." I'm like, "Nah, bro, you was wrong. You should like you can't just go to somebody's house. I know you bought it, but you gotta build that relationship before you just go there and start throwing stuff around." We laugh
yeah,
about it now. It was hilarious. I'm like, you can't just because you close on the house, you can't just go poking your chest out, man. It's a certain level of customer service. But I just see that
yeah.
happening still to this day.
No,
Yeah.
that is huge.
It is huge.
Landlords, and this is something that that we've been flirting with for a while. Is there needs to be like a landlord union,
Mm,
something especially smaller landlords, something that like to be able to help with some of these actual problems. Like I'm in a cohort with other landlords that I help create, and Darrell has helped to create. And so it's like it's about a good 20, 30 of us that are on a text thread.
mm,
And so like, we send quickly, hey, like anybody ever seen this issue before?
mm,
Like, like I give you one. So like recently a tenant was outside of our house. Or I said it wasn't outside, where their child was outside the house. And my contractor goes in the backyard. He rents space for the garage. And so he was like, yo, Amir, man, I got an issue that you might want to address. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, yo, the kid is outside and he's on the porch. And I'm like, all right, what's the issue? He's like, he got a knife. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, what's going on? He's like, nah, but he has a piece of bread too. I'm like, what? Like, huh? He's like, yo, he's like scraping the paint off your porch and he's putting it on the bread and he's eating it. And I'm like, yo, this kid is legit making a lead sandwich.
mm.
Like, and immediately I threw it out there to my feed and was like, yo, like, have you guys experienced this before?
No.
And so somebody was like, yeah, you about the health department about to hit you up 2 weeks later. Department hit me
Oh
up.
man,
It was like, yo, you got lead in your house. This kid got lead. I'm like, yo, this is
that's
crazy. Like,
crazy.
so again, like landlords need we need a safe space.
Yeah, yeah.
We need a safe.
I just, and I listen. I get everybody's different. I get, you're not gonna mesh well with everybody, but I just I just wish there was better communication. Even landlords, like I said, poking their chests out. You're trying to protect your investment, and that's very very important. And I get it. but you
Mhm.
still can't treat people any old kind of way. And then the tenants, um, I thought about something else yesterday. Matter of fact, it's almost like because the way the real estate market is, like tenants are kind of paying, like they're kind of paying for their track record, for their resume. Like you know what I'm saying? So it's like I got to pay my rent on time. I probably, I might have to pay you more money because it's gonna cost me more money if I leave. You know what I mean? Like it seems like everything is counting right now. For tenants, as far as you don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. You don't know if your landlord's gonna sell. You don't know if the rent's gonna go up. Um,
Mhm.
but most people right now in their current situation could possibly be better off there than going back out into the market because it's just crazy. So you really gotta uh stay on your toes as a tenant to make sure you're doing things right so that it could save you money in the future. I guess is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. And I don't know, it's a weird
Yeah.
dynamic, but um
Wait till people start having to do bids for rents. The bid starts at 1,200, and like the bid, the bid starts at 2,200, and you're like, all right, great. They're like, I'm bidding 23, I'm bidding 24.
I already seen it. It's here. I already
Like,
seen it. I already seen it.
so
I don't even want to tell you who the who the landlord was, but it's already here. It's already
it's already
here.
it's crazy.
um Submitted a rental application, and the agent calls me back and was like, "Is this your best?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? Is this my best? What exactly do you mean?" And then yeah, I left that alone, but it's here. It's
Yeah, it's
there.
here. It's crazy. Like I said, and it's unfortunately we're not ready for it. I keep telling everybody in 2053, I'm going to be 81 years old in 2053. But for Black folks, that's a number that should be stuck in your head, and it should be ringing in your head, and you should be talking to your kids about 2053. 2053 is the day or the year that they predict that Black wealth will be at zero. Now I know for me and mine's, we gonna be good because I'm setting it up right now. So we gonna be in that 0.0053%. But at the same time, if we don't do something right now to help our people with finances and budgeting and credit and building wealth and understanding about how to properly put your stuff into trust and wills and insurance, and it's a wrap. We going like it's gonna look real ugly for us in 2053.
Mm,
And not on my watch.
nah, definitely, man. Again, respect to what you guys are doing. It's definitely needed. And warranted, man. So, we'll wait for the announcement for that next session. I
Yeah.
might be texting you once a week just to see if y'all figured it out. Listen, man, and how can somebody get involved with what you got going on? I heard you say you had a board and everything. Like, so how can
Yeah.
how can somebody get involved?
Go to the website. We're on social media, Wealth Beacon WBG.
The website has our events,
Yeah.
different things that we
Mhm.
have going on.
Yeah. The website is really the core. So www.wealthbeacon.org. You go there, you'll find out everything you need to know about us. And again, we're reachable. We're out here in the community. You'll definitely see us out and pretty much everywhere. If you don't see me, you're definitely gonna see her.
Mm.
Um, so it's like we're touchable. We're real people. And like I said, I got kicked out of Hampton High, but I went to Hill House. Like I am a solid C student. Like this is why I tell everybody I'm a solid C student.
Solid C.
Anybody can do this. Like I got straight C's. Straight C's.
Nice.
If I got a B, my mother was ecstatic.
Nice, man. Look at you, man. Look, sometimes your grades don't reflect how smart you are, man. Because you definitely a
Nah.
smart dude, man. Um, and listen, so yeah, check them out on wealthbeacon.org. They're gonna let us know. We're gonna get exclusive of when the next program is. And
Absolutely.
and, I'll connect with you and get you a date on the other program. We're gonna really get deep into kind of stuff that we were talking about here. Just a little taste of what's probably gonna happen on that other podcast. But I want to thank y'all again for taking the time with me. I know we got to run. It's Saturday. We
Yeah.
got our Saturday morning things to do, and
Yeah.
I'll catch up with y'all later. Thank you again.
Sure,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank
All
you
right.
so
No
much.
problem.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Hopefully, wasn't in their back.